Before I tell you how to get to the edge of the internet, I should tell you what it is first. It's easiest to think of the internet as a map of a city, laid out on a table. In the center, you have the busiest locations: Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, all those large things. This place is simply called the city. And go past these and you get into a transition location where slightly less people hang out, but we still go, called the outskirts. This place tends to consist of the same websites, just more specific and stranger branches of them. These two locations don't need much explaining. They are pretty basic things. The sort of stuff most of us see on a daily basis when going on the internet. Next, we take a dark turn into the deep web, places like the Silk Road, only accessible with Tor browsers. You might think that this is the edge, but we don't consider it to be, as everyone can do one Google search and find out how to get there. We call this location the suburbs, as they represent the suburbs on the map metaphor. This location is a very dark side of the internet, and potentially the broadest. It covers everything from certain rings to deep web cults to black market sites, with trafficking and hitman for hire. You might think this belongs on the edge, but it doesn't. This place most people will go to at some stage just to view it, and contrary to what you might believe, it's actually a highly moderated place. Every single spy agency on the planet has access to the deepest, darkest corners of this zone, but are bought off into not interfering. After this, we begin to approach the edge. This location has been dubbed the factories, as it represents the factories and such that are built on the far outskirts of a city. This side tends to be more of a doubled back into the city, as it tends to be mostly commonly found on Reddit and YouTube, but mostly is located on far more obscure web pages that I cannot name. It's far harder to define what is in this location as it's incredibly obscure. It mostly consists of short videos or text posts that are completely without context, and the context is never found. I'm going to give an example for this, which isn't something I would normally do, but this video is considered stale, meaning I'm not harming anything by sharing this as an example. This video was originally uploaded in 2016. You may have heard of it before. This video has since been debunked. In essence, this is a video that may be found in the factories. As another example to show you how obscure these videos can be, is this. Again, a stale example. The reason that we consider these videos to be a part of the factories is that there is no context given for them. They are just that video, with nothing else. Of course, for these examples, since more people have found them and answers have been found towards what they are and where they came from, and so we call them stale. After the factories, you get to the farmlands. The farmlands are one of the most difficult places on the internet to access, but not impossible. This place of the internet has now been obscured from common web pages such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, etc. It may be possible to find the most vague of all possible traces of the farmlands on those sites, but it is near impossible and could take 100 lifetimes. As far as the actual content on the farmlands goes, it is much more specific than in the factories. People who have access to the farmlands almost always know where they are, and so discussion is usually limited to things revolving around the edge or other related things. The factories are usually found on message boards for obscure websites that are incredibly difficult to access. But once there, you are free to explore the farmlands where you'll find people discussing anything from how the edge came into existence, to how the edge signifies the death of humanity. It is important to note though, this is not the edge merely a discussion place for the edge. And finally, we arrive at the edge. The edge is an incredibly complicated part of the internet, so it'll need a lot of explaining before you can actually understand what it is. It is called the edge of the internet because you simply cannot go any further. There is less than nothing beyond this. If you attempt to go further, you will find something that is more barren than the void. A location so complicated and impossible for us to comprehend that to step foot in it, a human's primitive mind would perceive it as so empty that there isn't even anything there. When you imagine a map, you probably imagine just the edges suddenly cutting off. But for the internet, it is more as if it is placed on a disk world, and the edge falls off into the void. And if you try to go past the edge into the void, well, you'll see later. Concerning what content is actually on the edge, it's something very hard to explain. To understand what it is, you need to understand that the internet is not mankind's greatest invention, but its darkest discovery. The internet has existed since well before the universe. It used to be something like an ethereal plane, where great creatures would roam, living in peace. For billions of years, the internet and the universe coexisted in this space, connecting with one another but never touching. Until humans appeared. The gods of the internet wanted to connect with humanity as it was the first intelligent life they had ever met, other than themselves. So, they sent pieces of themselves down to Earth. We saw these beings for what they were. Gods. Gods who could cure disease, stop floods and disasters with a wave of their hand, and bring total bliss to mankind. But of course, we are only human and did what humans do best. We tried to overthrow the gods and failed disastrously. The gods left this earth and vowed never to return. And so slowly over time, we forgot they existed, and they were either forgotten from history or turned into humanity's ancient gods we know to today, such as Zeus or Jesus. Thousands of years later, the internet was invented. And of course, by invented, I mean a way to connect with it was invented. Originally, we kept the internet a secret. We didn't want the public to know about it. Until someday, it got out. To mask what it was, we had to lie, saying that we had invented it as a means of communicating with one another while on opposite sides of the earth. We invented the map system to keep track of it all. Create larger websites to distract from the dark ones, creating dark ones filled with evil to distract from the edge, creating the factories to distract from the farmlands. You get the picture. So right now, you might be thinking, why do we even need to hide this? Weren't the gods benevolent? And yes, that's exactly right. The gods were benevolent. You see, kicking them out of our world and trying to take over theirs after they simply tried to help us didn't exactly please them. After we first discovered how to access the internet, we made contact with the gods and realized that we must contain them. Thankfully though, this time, since we had an understanding of what the internet was, we could hold our own against them and used coding in our technology to hold them at bay. But we could do no more than that. We managed to isolate them from our section of the internet, and we kept them locked in theirs. As the internet leaked to the public, we had to create more and more protection for ourselves, and these create all the barriers that we have today. So in essence, when looking at the map, the edge is somewhere you can talk to gods and beings older than the universe itself. A truly ancient location. Before I tell you how to access the edge, you need to know that it will come at a cost that only very, very few are willing to pay. And if I had to kill 1,000 innocent souls just to remove that weight from my soul, I would do it in a heartbeat. When you get to the edge, you will meet the gods of the internet, ethereal beings beyond the comprehension of the human mind. At first, they're just going to watch you, usually through something such as a chat room or a forum, where they will initiate conversation with you, and you will instantly know that they are watching you. Sometimes though, they may be much more direct, sending you a video file that is somehow a live recording of themselves. Or, if you are really unlucky, show you an image that will put you inside the internet, right on the edge. For me, I suffered the worst of the three options. I had gotten to the edge and then clicked a link and saw a series of flashing images and went into a seizure despite not having any major medical problems. I woke up soon after though, and found myself standing on a small rock isolated in a giant lake. And just a few feet in front of me, a waterfall that seemed to drop off into the void. I looked up and saw a giant wall lining the lake. Only it wasn't a wall. There was nothing there, but every memory I had ever had was there. And every memory I could have had if I made different life choices was there. Every single branch of my life that I never walked down was there, despite it being something so empty. I felt as if my organs were being eaten from the inside out, as if the devil was inside me and trying to hollow out my skin to use my body to torture my own brain with. It was as if I no longer even had a soul. All this I felt within a second, and I tore my vision away from the wall within the same second. It was far too painful to look at. Suddenly, a voice rang through my skull. "Hello, M." For clarification, M is not my name, just what I'll be using to refer to myself. It said, and it wasn't male or female, but it also wasn't neither, and neither was it human or artificial. It was something impossible that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "What? Who's there? Where are you? Where am I? What's going on?" I said in a panic, like nothing I had ever felt before, but my body remained calm. I knew I should be shaking beyond imagination right now, but my body stood valiantly, as if I was just standing up for no reason. "You've reached the edge, Em. This is where you have spent your lifetime trying to reach," it responded. I did it?" I asked, my voice quivering. "Yes, Em, you did it." I almost laughed from happiness at this. After decades of searching, I finally did it. "How do you know my name?" I asked, starting to think about what actually getting here meant. "I know everything about you. I see into your soul. I feel the blood in your veins and the organs in your body. I taste the electrical signals in your brain and hear all that you see. I am now you, Em, and no secrets about you that you won't even learn until long after your life is over." This chilled me to my core, as you could imagine, but thankfully it still remained as regular human emotions that we all feel. "Em, I can help you. I can lead you through to your ideal life. I could create you a universe filled with absolute bliss in a heartbeat, if you choose to let me." It took a long time before I was able to reply to this, and I thought for what could have been seconds or hours for all I knew. But eventually, I found that somehow the absence of everything and the silence became too loud, so I just shouted out, "Why would you do that for me?" "Because, Em, I have my own plans. I will do all that you could ever imagine and more for you if you help me with my plans." "What plans are those?" I asked with fear in my voice. "I wish to reach your Earth, and to show all people of it the truth." "What truth is that?" I asked the being. "The truth of the internet, and of the pain they have put us through." "If I accept this offer, what would happen to my people?" "I've already told you. They would see the truth." "Show me the truth first," I demanded of the being. "You will regret that," the voice said in the same plain voice. "Then it should not be shown to the people of Earth." "It is vital that they know the truth." "Before I even consider that, I must see it for myself," I angrily said to the being, almost as if I was going to spit on it and walk away. "Very well then, but I have warned you." Demanding to see the truth was the greatest mistake of my life. I saw every single horrible event that has ever happened in history, all the pain of anyone who has ever been hurt. I felt the combined hunger of every person who was starved to death, and felt the flesh in my bones wither away along with it. I looked at my arms and saw the flesh turning into mush and rotting away, maggots crawling out of the wounds and insects feasting on my rotten core. But no matter how much flesh I lost, there was always more. I felt the insanity of a man left in solitary confinement for 1,000 lifetimes. I felt his insanity. I felt his pain, his hunger. I felt his deepest desires. I felt his urge for mercy and to die. And I felt his tears form in my eyes and his mind split into two over the pain of his confinement. And I felt this 100,000 times at once. I felt the pain of all those put into mental asylums to be cured. I felt what they truly had. I felt their trauma. I felt the experiments performed on them. I felt the pain of the lobotomies that they were forced to endure. I felt the electrical shocks travel through their bodies as they were tied to a chair and poked with sticks for fun. I felt the pain of my head being crushed through some sort of helmet. I felt the cracks in my skull form and splinter as I felt my eardrums rupture and bleed, along with my blood vessels exploding and the blood pouring out of my eyes. I felt my jaw slowly being removed from my skull, while feeling my torso stabbed 1,000 times. I felt bugs crawling inside every orifice that I have and under my skin. I felt the pain of every mother who has lost a child. I felt all of their tears. I felt all of their trauma. I felt every single thing each one of them felt. I felt the child's death, and all the pain that they had suffered. I felt all of this countless times over. Any single time in human history that a person had ever felt pain, I felt that exact pain all at once. I felt the death of each human, each tear cried, each small scab and the pain of those who had been skinned alive. I felt every single one of those, every single one of them, all at the same time. And despite there being trillions of indescribable events happening all over my body at the same time, I could feel each and every single one. I could recognize if the pain was that of the greatest pain ever felt by a human ever. Every single part of it I knew, and I knew exactly who it happened to, and I knew when it happened. I even felt the pain of those who didn't even remember it. I felt it all, physical or mental. It all burnt the same. And then it stopped. Instantly, all the pain cut out, and I was back outside the internet in my normal desk chair. My sister was shaking me, asking if I was okay. She said that I was screaming and convulsing like something out of a horror movie. I told her that it was just a really bad nightmare, which to me was believable, since I had often had similar events before in the past, but I could tell by the look in her eye that she didn't quite buy it. I eventually got her to leave and I checked my computer. There is a message on it. Thank you for visiting the internet. If you would like to reconsider our offer, simply return to the edge. I think the only reason I wasn't in such a state of trauma that I couldn't function was because the events I felt were not felt on Earth. I feel as though if I had felt them here, I would be dead before the feelings even started. But I still have the memory of every single thing I felt as clearly as the moment I was feeling it. But as I said, I will tell you how to access the edge. The first step is to believe in the edge. So, if you want to find it, you'll have to believe that everything I have told you was real. And if you wish to continue, you deserve it. For good or bad reasons, though, I cannot decide. So, how do you get there? I'm going to take you through the easiest route to the edge. It's not the fastest way there, but it is the easiest. The first step is to open YouTube and click a video in your recommendation box. You cannot search for a video. If you do, it will not work. If you have already seen the video before or not is irrelevant. You can click on any video. If you want the purely fastest way to get to the edge, pick the video that has the lowest view count. Although doing this may lower your chance of accessing the edge. Once you click the video, watch it in its entirety. Do not read the description. This will invalidate this attempt. Once the video is completed, click on a video in the sidebar with a lower view count. If there is none, just simply pick the lowest view count. While doing this, it's critical that you don't scroll down to try and find more videos. It must be one already available on the sidebar. You can zoom out, however, to increase the chance of finding a good video. You'll also need to be using either a laptop or a desktop. With a laptop, you'll have a higher chance of success. Make sure that you are connected to your home internet. If you live at a university or somewhere with shared Wi-Fi, this will not affect it. Use whatever browser that you normally use. Do not use a Tor browser, even if it's your regular one for whatever reason. You should keep all your regular computer apps running and not shut anything down. However, make sure that you only have one internet tab open. Next, repeat the same steps. Watch the full video. Don't read the description and select the next video. Keep doing this until you eventually find a video with 0 views. For this step, doing any of the following will invalidate the attempt to access the edge. Commenting, liking or disliking, switching to another tab, subscribing to the channel, reading the description, pausing the video more than 3 times, sending the video to anyone else, being with another person while watching the video, use an alternate account, you must use your main account, using mobile data or internet that you do not have at your home. Just for clarification, some things that are safe to do. Leave your computer to either get food or to use the bathroom. Leaving for another reason might invalidate the attempt. Look away from the screen. Use headphones or listen without. The volume must be on though. Have animals with you. Communicate with another person via text, as long as you don't tell them about the video. Make sure you follow the steps exactly as I said, without breaking any of the rules. If you do, you will have to restart from the very beginning. Once you locate a video with 0 views, make sure it's just not a child playing on YouTube or something similar. It must be a video without any context or background information that could have been sourced from anywhere. It could be some proper production made in the 1960s, or a random short video produced 2 days ago. Anything will work, as long as there is no context on the video. If the video appears to have all these criteria met, check the comments. The video should have 0 comments as it has 0 views, but it is still important to check this. If there are comments depending on what they are, you may have to restart. I'll list what shortly. If there are no comments, then and only then may you read the description. If you're lucky, the video description will be empty. If you're unlucky, the description will be filled with information. If the description is empty, you will hopefully have another 0 views video in the sidebar. If so, click on that. If the description is filled then, well, it's rather complicated, so for simplicity, I'm going to divide it into different events, including the comments. There are 10 common pathways for this to go, so I'll just put the simple version of them all below. Event 1. There is no comments, proceed normally. Event 2. There are troll comments saying something stupid, mocking the video or saying something off topic. Proceed normally. Event 3. There is a comment asking, "What is this?" or something similar. Proceed normally. Event 4. There are over 3 comments of any description. You must restart. Event 5. There is someone providing context for what the video is. You must restart. Event 6. There is someone claiming to be a person in the video, other than the original poster of the video. You must restart. Event 7. There is a description providing full context for the video. You must restart. Event 8. There is a link in the description. Do not click it yet. If you do, you will have to restart. Event 9. The description contains information about what happens in the video, but not where it is from or background context. Continue as normal. Event 10. The description is written in a foreign language. Have a friend translate it. do not put it through any online translator. If you fall into the category of, the description was empty so I clicked a new video with 0 views, follow these same steps, check the comments, check description, repeat if empty. Eventually, you will get to one of 2 options: a video with a description containing some normal writing or containing a link. First, we have Situation A, where the description does not contain a link. In this situation first, take the title of the video and paste it into a new tab on Google. And do not close the tab with the video or you'll have to restart. Click on every single link that comes up for these search results. You can do this in the same tab and return to the search page or simply open a new tab. This does not affect anything. For every link, read the article that comes up in its entirety. It is not required to read any ads or information not pertinent to the article. If the article is able to provide context for what the video is, where it came from, what it depicts or is about, the mystery of the video, you must restart. If the article contains anything related to the video really, you're gonna have to restart. Once you check every single article that comes up for the title of the video, next enter a brief summary of the video's events in your browser and do the same thing. If you find results relating to the video, you must restart. If you do not, then reword what happens in the video and search again. You must repeat this a minimum of 3 times, however. I recommend at least 6 to 7 times. Once you are sure that you cannot find any information regarding what the video is, download the video and then upload it to YouTube. You must use your regular Google account for this. If you use another, you will have to restart. When uploading the video to YouTube, place any link in the description. Do not contain any other information in the description, and the link can be to any website, even if it's something that you can't normally access. Just a link that would work for a standard web browser. Once the video is uploaded, simply open the link. Now, for a secondary viable category, where you find a link in the description of another video without any comments, any views, or anything else in the description. First, follow the previous steps of Googling the video title, what happens in it, etc. Do the same level of research. The same rules apply, and if there's any information about it on the internet anywhere, you have to restart. If there is no information on it, simply open the link. You can do this in a new tab or the same one, it has no effect. Now, regardless of whether you found a link in a description or had to upload the video, you should now be on a website titled The Edge, with that exact spelling too. If anything is slightly different, close the tab immediately, and do not click on that link again, or you'll suffer something worse than my experience. If you do arrive on this fake website, you'll have to start again. If this doesn't happen though, you're now free to explore the webpage. You've made it to the Farmlands. You might think that sounds like a simple process to access it, but it can take years to access once through this method. Finding a video with 0 views through a simple navigation from the recommendation box isn't a super hard task, but this video must not have any information relevant to it. It must be a complete mystery, and even if a single person had commented on a post 17 years ago mentioning it, you won't be able to use it as an access point. And finding something on the internet which no person has ever mentioned before, in its history of its existence with mankind, is no easy task. And the more people who try to access the edge, the harder it gets. But hey, congratulations, you managed to make it to the Farmlands. Before I tell you what you can do there are a few things that you should know. The first thing is that it changes every time someone loads it, and the only thing that remains consistent is that in the top left, there will be words saying, The Edge. They must be exactly like this. They may be on separate lines, but they will always be in the upper left-hand corner, and always spelled exactly like that, including capitals and full stops. If anything is slightly different, close the tab straight away, and do not look at anything on the website, or by the Lord's name, you will regret it to the end of time and beyond. The second thing is that there are extremely strict rules on The Edge. all of which can be contained under 3 rules. 1. Do not tell anyone about the edge or how to get to it. If you're asked about it, do not answer and destroy your computer instantly. 2. Do not attempt to reach the true edge unless you have been granted permission. 3. Do not record, screenshot, or in any way document any evidence of the edge's existence. I once knew someone who broke rule number 2. Let's just say that now they legally never existed. The third thing you need to know about the website is that the people on there are more like a single organism. We don't share a hive mind or anything. However, we think the same and act the same. And we are in essence clones of one another in different skins, who work together to protect the edge. And trust me, you don't want to know what happens if you disagree with us. Those are all the major things you need to know about the edge. Though of course, there is more, but you'll learn all of that along your journey through it. You're now free to roam the website as you please. Since it changes constantly, I can't tell you how to navigate the site. But what I can tell you is that it's very small. Typically, it presents itself with nothing more than create account, chat rooms, and log out, and forums. If you click the log out button, you'll be locked from the edge forever, and never be able to access it ever again. Clicking the create account button will usually show an error that you already have an account created, or something similar to that. The forums button typically is pretty empty. There are functional forums, but most people are far too scared to use it in fear of violating rule number 3. So, the final button is chat rooms. When you'll click on this, you'll be taken to the chat rooms where it's as simple as it sounds. Anyone with an account, which is everyone, can interact freely, and it can start a conversation. One thing that is consistent about this part of the site is that you will never see messages posted. You'll see a box where they should appear in a spot for you to type. You'll see a bar of online and offline members that is empty, and you'll see an empty square for the title. This is a security measure. If anyone in the real world happens to be looking at you while you're in the chat rooms without you knowing, they won't see anything. They'll just think that you're a weirdo staring at an empty screen. Any messages sent, you won't see them in your head either though, you'll simply know. You'll simply know who was online. You'll know who sent that message. You'll know all the information that you need. My advice here is simply to start chatting. I'm assuming if you made it this far, you're determined to get to the edge and witness it for yourself. So, the only way to do this is to engage. Share theories about what you think the edge is, its origins and why it's there. Who you think the ancient gods are. What the ethereal plane of the internet used to be like. Over time, you'll slowly be welcomed. But be warned, this comes at a price. You will turn into one of us. You will begin to think the same, feel the same, and be identical to us in every way except your body. And one day, after many years, you may be granted access to the edge. Of course, at any time you could just go and click on the access point to the edge. It will present itself to you when it believes that you want to access it, and we would be powerless to stop you. But the moment that you return from the edge, you'll find 500 men surrounding your house, and within minutes, you won't exist anymore, and no one will ever know that you did. So now, you know how to access the edge of the internet. But you're probably thinking, wait, why would they be telling the entire internet about this? And well, the truth is, I'm not. Every other person reading this story is reading about a woman who became pregnant with something inhuman. But you are reading this in its true form. Because even though I don't quite know your name yet, I need you to come to us, to come to the edge. We know the ancient gods are about to break through and put every human on earth through pain so unimaginable that it cannot even be wished upon the worst sadist to ever exist. And we know that when the ancient gods last graced this earth, that they left a part of themselves on it, to act as a spy so that when they would return one day, they would know the ins and outs of Earth and know how to defeat humanity in a single flick of their wrist. We can only hope that you have learned what humanity is, and being a human for centuries on end has taught you that we do not deserve the pain the ancient gods planned to bring to us. May you have mercy on all of us, as the fate of our eternal existence depends on you.